Welcome to Bones to Bulk, your source of information on how to gain lean muscle. My name is Brian Parody, and I will be your host today. And we are talking about sugar and the dangers thereof, and just all the confusion that surrounds it. So strap in and get ready for episode 017. So before we jump into today's episode, I just want to let you know that we have launched the complete Bones to Bulk program. It has everything you need to put on weight and muscle mass, and you can check it out at bonestobulk.com. If you're not ready for quite something so intensive right now, we do have our free course. Yes, free, you can check out, and that's going to give you some great starter points to get you going in the right direction. So again, head on over to bonestobulk.com, click on those courses, and check them out. All right, without further ado, let's jump into today's episode. So sugar, it's everywhere, right? I mean, we can't go anywhere, we can't eat anything, we can't pick up any kind of food item without seeing some type of sugar in it, whether it be, regular sugar, cane sugar, fructose corn syrup, some kind of artificial sweetener. It's everywhere. And, a lot of times we tend to think, well, sugar, it's just a carbohydrate, so it's not that bad, right? Wrong. All right, so we're going to talk about sugar. When we process sugar, our body basically takes these molecules and it breaks them up. All sugar is processed by our liver. And when we get natural sources of sugar, our liver takes those and it basically breaks them down and converts those molecules into energy. Sounds good, right? Well, just wait for it. So our body can only process small amounts of sugar at a time. And basically what happens is anything the body, absorbs or takes in that it can't currently work on, guess what? It gets stored in the body. And this goes for anything, whether it's protein, carbohydrates, or fats. Our body has a limited capability of processing a certain amount of these types of food groups. So let's jump back to sugar. So when we, down a bunch of sugar, it goes to our liver and our liver begins processing it. And again, it starts converting it to energy. But what happens when it hits its peak? When it says, you know what, I've had enough sugar, I can't take any more, stop production. The assembly line stops, and guess what happens to all that sugar waiting to be processed? It gets stored as fat, and not a healthy fat either, mind you. And that's counterproductive to what we're trying to do. There's a lot of different sources of sugar out there, but our body still responds the same way to all of them. It fires the same triggers in our brain. Our body looks at sugars the same way, whether it be an artificial sweetener or a regular sugar. That's why it's so important to cut down our sugar consumption. A lot of people say, well, what about fruit? Okay, well, there's two elements to that. If you're drinking fruit juice, it's not doing anything for you. Again, your liver cannot process that much sugar at once and stores a lot of it as fat. So stay away from the fruit juices. We've become so conditioned to think, oh, I'll give my kids fruit juice, and that's a healthier, thing than having them drink soda. It's really not. You don't have the acidity to it of soda, so you don't have that extra element of bad in it, but it's still just as detrimental to the way their liver is processing that sugar and putting it on overload. And that's why we head towards diabetes, is if we're constantly pumping in so much sugar that our liver can't handle it, eventually begins to just throw its hands up and be like, you know what, I'm done. I'm not processing this anymore. I can't. I'm worn down. So that's why it's so important to definitely stay away from fruit juices and any of their source. And fruit juice has just as much sugar in it as a soda. And if you follow anything I've done, my feelings about soda, whether it's diet or regular. You should not be drinking it. All right, so what about whole fruit then? Well, whole fruit, that's a different beast, because when you take in whole fruit, there is not near as much sugar as, let's say, a 16-ounce bottle of juice, because it's not that concentrated form of it. So first off, you have way less sugar in an apple than 12 ounces of apple juice. Also, another very, very important element to fruit is you have fiber in it. And what that fiber does is it allows your body to process it way more slowly and over time and in a much natural way than just, we're dumping all this sugar on our liver. So that's why fruit is okay, because it's not going to send us into that overload, that sense of shock, like our bodies aren't going to be, oh, what the crap are you giving me? No, it's okay. Sugars are a great source of energy, of fuel. I really recommend, a fruit or something similar about 30 to 45 minutes before you work out, because it's going to give you that good carbohydrate and energy rush that you need. Now let's jump into some artificial sweeteners. So, there's tons of them out there, and they're really not any healthier. Now, there are exceptions, and we're going to go over that. But artificial sweeteners, they still trigger those same responses in our body, and they're processed kind of the same way as sugar is. So it's really no healthier for you. Now, stevia is an exception. Stevia comes from an actual plant, so it's not something man-made, and therefore it is a little bit better for you. Now, that's not saying just start dumping stevia and everything, no, but I am saying, it's okay to have a little bit of it. Like, let's say in your coffee, you've got to have something to sweeten it up. It's okay to do a half a packet of stevia or something in it. It's not gonna be detrimental to you. Again, just don't overload your system on it. Don't be making Southern sweet tea and just dumping cups of stevia into it. It's gonna have the same negative effect. Another hot topic when it comes to sugar is sports drinks. We hear all this stuff about sports drinks, like, oh, we're working out, or if we're out in the heat, we need to be chugging sports drinks. Well, okay, if we're truly heavily exerting ourselves, for instance, let's say you're working in 100-degree heat for 8 hours a day, yeah, water is not going to be enough. You need to be having something else, but that doesn't necessarily mean that those energy drinks or sports drinks are the way to go. There's a lot better ways to get the electrolytes you need to replace that sodium content and to hydrate yourself. So obviously, for hydration, you want water. Water, water, water. I preach on water all the time. It's the most underrated miracle product out there, believe me. If you don't believe me, cut out everything else and just drink water for a month and see what it does for you. So in addition to drinking water to stay hydrated, there are other things you can do. Eat like bananas. They're loaded with electrolytes. Almonds or peanuts, these are going to give you a good source of nutrition that you need to sustain you through long workouts. Now, I'm not going to say there's never a time when you maybe shouldn't have a sports drink, but for the majority of us, we're never going to be at that level. High performance athletes who are putting out a crap ton of energy and just need those sudden bursts of, it's okay for them to have a sports drink. Again, it should not be the primary thing they're drinking. They need water mostly. But again, it's okay on that level because of the high amounts of energy we're burning, and that sugar is going to be metabolized a little bit differently because of the level they're at. But again, most of us, we're not working out at an athletic level. We're not, just dripping sweat in the gym and our heart rate's accelerated like crazy. No, that's not the norm for us. So we don't need to be intaking those. So stay away from sports drinks, just kind of as a general rule. Again, there are exceptions, but overall, they're not good for you. And one other important element of sugars is typically our sugars always come in a form of carbohydrate when it comes to like our food-based sugars. So, whether you're eating Frosted Flakes in the morning or something similar, those are terrible for us. It's pretty much pure sugar, pure fat. Our body can't handle it. It's going to go straight to fat. Those are not the kind of carbohydrates you need to be eating. You need to be eating whole grain, nutritious carbs. Things like brown rice or sweet potatoes, quinoa, whole grain oats, things like that don't have that sugar content in them. There's so many good carbs that do not have the sugar content. I hope this helps clear up some confusion about sugar and what you should be doing with it. Just remember, regardless of what anybody has told you, regardless of what boundaries that may have been placed around you, what fences, what walls have been put in your path, you can accomplish your goals. You can overcome the obstacles in your way. And even if people have told you that you couldn't, believe me, you can. You've got this.